Hello everybody, welcome to Catherine Sews. Thank you so much for joining me today. I'm in one of those moods. As a crafter, you can probably relate to this. Do you ever get going on one project, you're all excited about it, and then it inspires the idea for another project, so you're going off on another tangent? That's where I am right now. It all started when my friend Judi came over and she brought over a bunch of ideas that she'd been working on. She had begun on this whole quest of using scrap denim, and she wanted to use up every square inch of the jeans that she had torn up. And she made so many really cool projects from this scrap denim. It got me all excited, and so I started to make a video about making gifts from scrap denim, which I did a couple years ago, and I still love every project in there. And so I love Judi's spin on how to make beautiful gifts from scrap denim. So we hung out for the day, had a blast crafting together. Then we went to my brother's cottage for a rainy weekend, stayed indoors crafting together and had a blast again. And then I came home and was supposed to finish all of those projects. So last night I got part way through the first project and it's so beautiful. I struggled with it at first and then I got obsessed. Isn't that just so pretty? It's like mosaic tile. It's so pretty. And so what this is an idea that Judi got from another YouTuber friend of hers. The channel is called Buku, and on her channel she's got so many different really beautiful handcrafted things, really lovely. So I'll link the video for this little pouch that Judi got inspired by. Judi tweaked the idea, made it her own, and then I was taking that idea from Judi, but then I got obsessed with that sort of handcrafted tile look using the denim. So you know, the heart's gonna go where the heart wants to go. So I will finish this little pouch and show you. It's really clever, but then I'm gonna go on to use this idea in a way that I'm just beyond excited about. What I'm gonna play with is using that idea and putting it on the back of a denim jacket. I've done a couple different things with denim jackets, but this time I don't want to change the color of the denim, right? I want to still be able to throw this jacket on with whatever. I don't want to limit what I can wear this with. So doing kind of that mosaic on the back and maybe a little bit on the front or the cuffs, I'm beyond excited. I really want to get onto this. And I don't see why that wouldn't make a fantastic gift. I would love it if somebody gave me a handcrafted denim jacket that they had upcycled for me. Oh yeah, I would love that. I'll take you back in time and show you a clip from my conversation with Judi. That's always fun. I'll show you her pouch, the process I used to get here, and then we'll get back into real time and we'll finish this together. Then we'll get onto the jacket. Sound good? If that sounds good, let's get busy. I look like I just worked all day and you look fresh as a daisy.
I've been working on it too.
I'm working on your hair. I am super excited and you're going to be excited too because my friend Judi is joining us today for my annual Christmas present video. So Judi has just by coincidence been sending me messages showing me pictures of things that she's done with scrap denim. Every single one she sent me, I was like, oh, that would be such a great gift. And so she has come over. We're in my dining room. We both have a bunch of jeans and we're gonna be doing some really cool things with Judi. Yay!
And so these are little pouches that snap closed and you just do it. We had a broken tape measure.
That's what you use?
Yeah, broken tape measure.
When you showed me the picture of this, I was like, oh, okay, so you have to buy a little gadget.
They do sell them.
But you can just...
Yeah, you can do it yourself.
God.
Well, and we just happen to have a huge broken tape measure in the shop. So
that is
Cody made me them.
And then
it really snaps. Like, whoop.
That, oh, yeah. I'm so blown away.
And then I used the little belt loops as the pull.
This fabric here is perfect. What did you use for that?
This fabric is something that I dyed ages and ages ago. It was that Japanese dyeing technique.
Oh, shibori? It's a tie-dye technique where you fold it.
So yeah, I had previously dyed all this fabric and it was just sitting around. Was going to be a pretty bedspread.
It is so pretty.
But it was just sitting around and it was so perfect with the denim because I did it with indigo. And yeah, so I've been using that to make these pouches. And making those square panels is the most delightful thing. Like putting them together.
Really?
Yeah, I got the inspiration from my friend Arouna, and she has her own YouTube channel and has a full video of how to do the pouch.
Okay, so we'll link to that.
Her channel is Buku.
Buku, okay.
Yeah, but the way she does the thing is more quilting.
Okay.
But I kind of, well, that was my first one,
Okay.
but I'm getting better at getting them together. And I just love the overstitching it.
I love it. They're so cute. Stop. So pretty. And can you tell us about the printed fabric that's in there?
So this fabric, my friend Arouna printed. She's the inspiration for the whole project. She printed this probably 15 years ago on a little pouch that I used to carry all my cosmetic
things.
Yeah. It was very small
because you're so into that.
That is me.
So I'm back home now, but while I was at the cottage with Judi, I cut up a bunch of little squares, 1-inch squares. These are the section of measuring tape that she gave me. I've got a couple belt loops for the tabs, like for the sort of pull tabs. And I cut 2 pieces of my linen. This is an IKEA curtain that I thrifted for about $6, and it was a big piece. And so this I cut to be 7 inches by 16 inches. And then this is the thread I'm going to be using. It's from Coats & Clark, their denim thread. And it's just really, really pretty. I ordered 4 spools of these. I've got one in the machine ready to go. I'll link to this thread in the description because I think it's so, so nice for this project. I've also got some Heat and Bond here. You might have seen me before use something called Transweb. Same kind of idea. It's like a paper with a glue layer and a ruler. And then I'm going to be drawing with my ruler and my friction pen. I'll be drawing the 6 by 10 inch grid right onto the Heat and Bond. So I've cut this piece just a little bit bigger than 6 by 10. So I'm lining my ruler up with the lines on my cutting mat to make that a lot easier. If your Heat and Bond is all wrinkly before you start, don't try to iron it flat because that would be funny. So I've drawn the grid on my Heat and Bond. It's 6 inches by 10, and I made sure that I can see the lines through the paper. And then we're going to take it to the ironing board. I've got the glue side facing up, and so I have a piece of parchment here ready to put on top before I bond it. I kind of like having squares that have different color changes in them, and I can put the denim either right side up or wrong side up. So just with 2 different colors of denim and then the canvas, so I'm trying to keep it random. It's going to get challenging to keep all these little squares laying nicely. I might need to fuse down the rows as I go, because if I sneeze, I'm in trouble. I'll just bond 3 rows at a time because I don't think I can handle that much fussing. And of course, the parchment paper is just here to protect my iron from the glue. Okay, so the squares I'm finding are taking up a little bit more than their allotted 1 inch on the grid. So I might end up with only 9 rows of squares instead of 10, and maybe that is okay. But it's definitely a fiddly little process. Judi's looked so perfectly aligned. I'm hoping mine does once I actually sew these down, but holy smokes, she's not very confident in her sewing ability. She always says that she's not very good, but oh my goodness, I'm in awe of her right now because this is blinking hard. I'm sure I have to flip it to get that iron onto the gluey side to make that really stick. But I can't flip it until I get it at least partially stuck down. I'm going to increase the heat up to somewhere between cotton and linen. Okay, I'm going to try to flip. Hopefully it's stuck enough. Okay, that was not a disaster. I think that might have worked. Now I can take it off the parchment. It's a lot more wobbly than Judi's. Hopefully if I sew it straight, that'll make it look straight. I'm just going to trim the edges to make those at least straighter. Like I'm just cutting off the excess of the Heat and Bond and straightening up my edges. I think these pieces aren't big enough because I want to have at least like a good 1/2 inch seam allowance on both sides because I'm going to be sewing the sides with a French seam. So that means I have to recut these. So new piece of linen. This one is 8.5 by 16.5. So now we tear off the paper, leave the glue attached. That's kind of cool, right? And then get it centered. Oh, I can use my little bit of tape measure to make sure that's centered. Perfect. Back with the parchment. So I love the idea of this. The reason Judi wanted to do this was she was trying to use up every square inch of her denim. Okay, so now I shall try to flip this onto new parchment so that I can press it from the back. Okay, hopefully everything stayed put. It didn't really stay put at all. Alrighty, I'm going to try to zigzag this. Hopefully it is stuck down enough. Okay, so I'm using a triple zigzag that's 6 millimeters wide and only 0.2 millimeters long. So that should give me good coverage on all of these raw edges. I think what I've been calling a triple zigzag is only a double zigzag. Okay, so I've done all the zigzagging on the verticals. I'm trying to convince myself that the wonkiness is part of the charm. It just doesn't look as good as Judy's. Oh, and I have switched to just a regular zigzag, and it's 4 millimeters wide and 0.5 millimeters long. And I think that looks better than this double one I was trying. Now, she did say that she trimmed away excess bits and she went over it twice. So maybe I'll need to do that. But I'm becoming more convinced that this will turn out well. I think I will just go over everything a second time. I think I love it now. Nice. So I'm going to trim threads and I'll trim any little bits of square that is sticking out. And this wasn't difficult. I just had a crisis of confidence. I just did not think it was going to work out well, but it did. I like it now. So now it's time to make a casing on both ends and make it big enough for our measuring tape pieces to fit through. Now, a couple of things I should mention. If you're doing this on a printed fabric, or something that has a right and a wrong side, you want to have sewn this whole thing onto the wrong side. I really should make that clear because our next step is going to be rolling this down. So it's actually this side that's going to show on that top casing. So that's a pretty important detail. The other thing I wanted to mention, I asked Judi how her partner, Cody, cut these, and she said he used a grinder with a grinding wheel. I don't have that, and I suspect that most people don't. So what I'm wondering, can I use a pair of paper scissors to cut this? Now, I'm going to say yes, but you need safety glasses. I have glasses on. Safety glasses would have been better because those little pieces just went flying. Don't do this with your good scissors, but yeah, I think you kind of can cut it with paper scissors. I know somewhere in the garage we've got tin snips, and that would work fine. But what Cody did for me, which I think is a great addition to the boku idea, Cody rounded the corners. In the boku video, she has it cut straight, and then she tapes it. I really do appreciate that Cody rounded the corners for me, so thank you very much for that. So these are 6 inches long, and this is 1 inch wide. Some tape measures are skinnier, but this one is a full inch. And it was Judy's idea to take the boku idea of having these 2 loops so that you pull apart to open the pouch. But then Judi tweaked that idea by using the belt loop from the jeans, which I thought was great. So I'm going to do that. But I want to be able to sew this in one smooth line. But this, I think, is going to need reinforcement. I want to sew back and forth a bunch of times on this so that that is really, really strong. So I'll sew that first. So I'm just folding the belt loop and putting it right along that middle line. So I'm just going to run to the machine, do a strong back tack right across there. I'll be right back. Good, so those are secured in place. And now I want to lay my measuring tape piece there and fold it down and then kind of wrap it around. And that shows me how big I need the casing to be. And then I can slide that out and refold. So then I'll be able to just sew neatly straight across. This is my big back tack that's holding that tab in there really nice and strong. So that's pretty good, just like that. So now I'll sew straight across nice and close to this bottom edge. That looks great. Both ends like that. So now we pop in the tape measure. So the Boku video says to put the curved edge facing out. The numbers are going toward the inside, and that just makes it close up nicer where the top edge is going to come snugly together. So that's a nice snug fit around that. That looks great. Now we're just going to be doing a French seam on the side. The two sides are wrong sides together. So my first line, I think I'll go right at the edge of my presser foot. And I want these two edges lined up just perfect, right like that. Okay, same thing on the other side, wrong sides together, and matching up that top edge and edge of my presser foot. So now I'm going to trim off a little bit, not too much, more or less just the fuzzy edge. And let's hop back to the iron. So we're not getting that springy action yet, not until we sew a little closer into those tape measure pieces. So I'm going to flip it now inside out. And this is more or less my last chance to trim threads from the inside. And then I'll use some scissors that are not too pointy. Make sure that corner's out nice and pointy. And then press that nice and flat. So now we sew that same seam from the inside. Then we should be able to get that snappy action on the tape measure. So I want to sew fairly close to the tape measure. I think it doesn't really snap if it's got too much room to move around. So I want to sew fairly close to it. And I want to come down just beside my mosaic. I want to make sure I don't hit that tape measure though, because that would not be great. So I'm trying to shove it the other direction now. I might have to come in a bit closer than I want to. I'm going to go closer on this side, closer into the mosaic, because this side is right beside. So I want the two ends to look the same. So I think the lesson here is make sure that your mosaic is about the same size as your tape measures. Mine ended up being a little bit bigger. I think if the two are the same width, then that's going to give you a better result. Anyway, let's flip this and see. Okay, corners nicely poked out. Oh, that is so cute. And look at it's so snappy. Wow, that's amazing. That is so adorable. I love it. Oh my gosh, so cute. And it's such a good closure. You could keep all kinds of things in there and not worry about anything falling out. I love that so much. All right, that's a winner. Thank you to Judi for that idea and the inspiration for this mosaic. And now we're going to do the jacket. Alrighty, so for the jacket, I'm going to be using 1.5 inch squares because when we were at the cottage, we cut up 2 pairs of jeans into 1.5 inch strips for the woven project, which I will come back to in a future video. But that's what I've got, these strips that are 1.5 inches wide. So that's what I'm going to be using for this. But I'm going to do this in a more simple way that I think kind of refines the technique and makes this a little bit more washable. I'll be for sure catching all the edges and not worrying about that. And I'm not going to use the heat and bond. I'm just going to be drawing the grid right onto the jacket. I want to find the exact center. I think I'll keep my mosaic within these lines, not covering them. So I'm going to call that exactly 11.5. So the center there, 5.5 is 11.25. So 5 3/4 from the end. That's my center. And then my center at the bottom. Good. I don't want to have a line right down the middle because I want to have a square running down the middle. So if I have 1.5 inch squares, 1.5 divided by 2 is 3/4 of an inch. So I'm lining up my 3/4 inch mark with both of those marks. So if I go 3/4 on each side of my center, that should give me 1.5 inches. And then going 1.5 inches in both directions. I don't know what will go on there. We'll have to figure that out. 1.5 inches from the top. So my grid's all drawn. Now I need to count the number of squares I need. So these are 5 across, and I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 rows where I need all 5. So that's 55 plus 1, 2, 3, 4, 6. Let's say on each side. So 55 plus 12 is 67. And these aren't even full, so I'm going to call that 66. I've got the 2 colors of denim, but both sides. So that's 4. And then I've got this kind of cool cushion cover that's, well, it's linen. Look, I don't really know what it is. Heavy cotton. I don't know what it is. So I guess I actually have 5 different things. I'm going to take my number 66 and divide by 5. Well, you know what? I'm going to call this 65 because there are enough that are not complete. So 65 divided by 5 means I need 13 squares of this and then 13 squares of each side. So basically 26 squares of this, 26 squares of this. Let's cut those. 9, 10. Okay, 26 of those and then 13 of these, right? And unfortunately, at the cottage, I didn't have my friction pen, but I did have Sauvignon Blanc. And so I use an actual pen in all of my wisdom there. So I can't use that area. I think this area will give me enough variety. That's okay. Oh yeah, that's more than enough. I'll do some extra because I might want to do the cuffs of the jacket, something like that. Alrighty, so I'm going to the machine with all this. So at my machine here, I've got my pile of squares in obviously random order. And then I'm going back to the regular zigzag that's 4 millimeters wide, but only 0.5 millimeters long. I think I'm going to start with that middle row and build my way out. So I'm just taking one square, placing it on the grid, and using that zigzag to just really focus on the one edge. It was kind of too hard to catch both edges at once. But I am just going to do the verticals here. I'll come back and do the horizontals. I find that I'm not very good at random. I tend to fall naturally into doing a pattern. So what I'm trying to do right now, because I do want this to be random, is I'm not even looking at the pile when I grab a square. I'm just trying to just grab a square. Heat and Bond gave the pouch a little bit of stiffness, which was nice for that, but I think I'm happy to be keeping this soft. Okay, so perhaps here I will come straight across and then up the other side. Ah! And my needle just fell out. Didn't break, it just literally fell out. Okay, here we go. Straight across the bottom now. The other side. I definitely want to make sure that they're not looking sloped, you know, that I'm not pushing them one way and pushing them the other way. So I'm glad to have the grid to keep me on track. Yeah, I'm a little worried about that slope. Yeah, definitely. It looks like they're angling up. So I think from now on, I'll just go downwards instead of coming up one side. When I do the horizontal stitch, I think it'll kind of cover over where some of them look angled like that. I'm not too worried, but I think for the other rows, yeah, I just will go down. I won't come back the opposite direction. I don't think that was great. So if I grab the same one, I'll just flip it over. Okay, so straight down the other side instead of turning and changing direction. Yeah, the seam ripper is helping me stay more within the grid. Okay, I'm loving this already. So you can see my double row of zigzag. What I might do at the end is go again right in between just to sort of blend it in. I'll at least try that and see what it looks like. In this final row, I'm not exactly sure how that's going to come together. Okay, first time for everything. I think I want dark in the corners. So now the question is, do I trim first and then sew those edges down, or sew them and then trim? Let's try trimming and then sewing. Yeah, I think that'll work. Maybe I'll just use this little tiny bit just to fill in that corner. So halfway done. Well, halfway done the verticals anyway. Then got to do all the horizontals. But the nice thing is that as I move right, it's going to get easier. All this chunk here will get less and less. Literally down to 2.5 squares left. That is it. Okay, amazing. So now it shouldn't be too bad to do all of those horizontals. And because everything is sort of more or less stuck down, I think I will be able to snake my way back and forth. So here, I'm not trying to catch both edges. I'm going to go on this edge and then come back on this edge. I've got a new spool of thread and a new bobbin. I've finished the top half. Now I'm going to start from the bottom and work my way up. So this is my 3rd spool of thread. I'm really glad I ordered 4 of those. Okay, this is literally the last horizontal line. I'm madly in love with it. I think it's so beautiful, but it's very thready. And of course, it's far from perfect, right? But I think that it really shouldn't be perfect. This is not about perfection. This is about expression. I'm just going to try the extra line of zigzag. And I'm just going to try going right down between. So what do we think? Is it worth doing that 3rd line? Maybe. You know what? It does kind of keep it flatter and it reduces all of the little threads from coming up in between. I think I will do it. It kind of feels better. Oh my gosh, that is done. So I just ran out to visit my mom and I wore this jacket and showed her and she loved it. She agreed I should put some on the front yokes as well and maybe the cuff. So same process, drawing my lines, counting my squares, cutting the squares, and then zigzagging them on. So I've got 4, 12, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22 squares per side. So 44 total, 5 different things going in. So 9 squares of each thing. So that's 18 squares of the 2 different denims and 9 of that linen-y cushion cover. And I'm going to do 2 extra. Okay, well, I might as well finish this piece. After completely covering the area, I think I'm going to trim and kind of just trimming in line with the stitching underneath and then do the horizontals and around the outside edge. I think that's a good way to go for a shape that's not rectangular at all. Oh, I totally love that. Of course, it's nowhere near done yet. But while I was sewing that, I remembered that when I did the army jacket, one comment was that maybe I should have played around with asymmetry. So I thought maybe I should. And so if I did that, what would I do? Just maybe one row there? Oh, you know what else? Judi gave me this little bag that some product had come in, and I thought it was kind of nice. So that's a thought. But you know what I don't love is that the canvas colors don't match. Asymmetry is harder than symmetry, isn't it? What about something fairly random like that? I kind of like that though. In fact, I think I love it. So I can sew these ones on, and then this patch I will sew on by hand because I've got those needles and still some of the wax thread from when I did my Babylon leather bag kit. So I think I'm going to do that. I think I kind of love that. So I still have to do all the horizontals on this side, but I got kind of excited about that side. So let's just get this one done and then come back to it. So these ones are sort of on top of each other. So I tried to put the pins in such a way that I can kind of peel back the layers, do the lower ones, and then pile them on top of each other. When I don't have to struggle with it, that's what the stitch really should look like. But because I have to like fuss and fight with it so much, it hardly ever looks like that. It looks like a little bit of a struggle. That area is ready for the label to go on. That'll be nice. Finishing off the other shoulder. There is still a gap in between, which I think is nicer to seal up. Right, I do think that looks better than this. Okay, fine. Here we go. Oh, okay, that's it. And in the interest of symmetry, I just put squares along the bottom of one cuff, and I really like that. That looks so nice. Okay, so this went on very nicely, and so it's ready for this patch to go on. I dug out one of the needles from the Babylon leather kit, and I looked for the thread. I know it's around here somewhere. I couldn't find it, but what I found instead is this really nice pearl rayon thread in a natural color, which I think is really pretty. I did tie a knot in my thread. I'm going to hide that underneath, and then I want to come up in one of the needle holes. I'm not going to use 2 needles like I did on the Babylon leather kit. I'm going to use just one, and I'm going to just do a running stitch, but I'll go around twice so that I end up filling in all the spaces. Do you know what I mean? I'll catch every other space this first time around and then fill in the alternating spaces the second time around. So this is not difficult. You get the idea. So I think I shall find a place to get more comfy and go around this twice. Okay, I'll check back in with you in a few minutes. That patch went on so nice with the running stitch when I went around twice. Of course, you could do it as a back stitch and just do that around once, but that was just quite easy and fun to do, and I love the look of that. Isn't that pretty? Okay, both pieces are finished, and I absolutely love both of them. I love this technique. I just think that's so pretty and attractive. My son said it looked like the tiles in a swimming pool, and I think that's a perfect analogy. It is like a mosaic, and I just think it's so pretty. It was really fun to do. You could tell I was excited right from the beginning. The pouch is awesome. That is really cool. And I'll link Boku's video for the pouch in my description as well. She does an excellent job explaining it. And thanks to Judi for tweaking it up and kind of introducing me to this concept of this mosaic tile. I really love it. It was really fun crafting with Judi. And I have to admit, her pouch looks better than mine. It looks so perfect. Really good job, Judi. And if you want to see more creative ideas from Judi, she's a jewelry designer. She's the real deal. And her website is evendesign.com. catherine.ca. She does a line of really, really fun, creative, ingenious pieces of jewelry. And then she also does custom jewelry as well. It's really worth checking out her website for some creative inspiration. So obviously, this is my new favorite denim jacket. I think this is a winner. I really hope you had fun with that one today. And until next time on Catherine Sews, you take care.